Brilliant Beauties. We are officially here at the Lazy Overachiever, and I am super excited to be with you for many reasons. For those of you who are absolutely new to our new podcast, you know that we've been tinkering with subject matters that go all the way from being safe enough to be still in your body, your mind, your spirit, all the way through the reality that it's really important for you to reclaim your time and drink a little less coffee, according to some of our experts, because it's really important for you to be regulated fully as your heart desires, so you can align with whatever those big sprints are that you have going on, those big overachieving, aligned goals that light you up and make your body on fire, but still honoring that you have to slow down to listen, to hear what your inner brilliance is saying. Which is why there would be no better time than for me to introduce this gorgeous, potent human who literally lights up every single room that she walks in. Beyond the fact that Madeleine MacRae is a four-time multi-million dollar founder, like we could stop there and end the rest of the show, right? Beyond that, she has receipts, she has history. She's so humble. She's so human. She's so aligned with her truth as she evolves and gives herself that permission to grow in whatever direction feels juicy and good to her. I could not have her on the TLO. So welcome. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much. I love that intro. I was like, that's me. It felt
Like,
familiar.
yes,
Thank
yes,
you.
Nikita, that is me.
Speak truth out there. I love it.
Yeah, you are amazing. And I meant every
Thank
single
you.
word.
Thank you.
I had the opportunity to be invited to your recent book launch of The Tenacious Pursuit of Peace. Yes, right there. And she is again a best-selling author, because this is not your first book, but
No.
this is one that is really dear to your heart and very personal,
Yes.
even more personal than your previous one, I think, which was specifically designed for your son. Yes, the unusual penguin. And in the wonderful launch that you did and the reading of your stories, you really gave me personally some insight into the heart of you that I hope that the
Hmm.
listeners can share and embrace with you today as they get to know a little bit about what you're doing in the world today.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. My goal is to serve deeply, and in order to serve deeply, there's a lot of self knowledge, a lot of letting go, a lot of allowing,
Yeah.
and I'm just so excited to chat with you about this concept of being a lazy overachiever, because it's just such a critical component
Yeah.
of high achievement that most high achievers don't think about,
Yeah.
right? That the idea of the pause and the allowing is
Hmm.
just it's just something that I'm leaning into more and more, because without it you end up burning out, right, and getting sick and being forced to rest in a non-fun
Absolutely.
way than if
Hmm.
you build it in. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that you're in alignment with, and I know that word is coming up. That's probably like the fifth time I said it, because that's what I see and feel when we're in space with each other. There's so
Mm,
much alignment, right?
mhm.
Um, and I am one of those people. For anyone who's been following this show or the Balance Boldly podcast, I speak from my heart. 100,000%.
Mhm.
And that is something that comes up a lot because you're in this space right now, just from our pre conversations, our agreement conversations, of really embracing that next story, not just new chapter,
Oh
right? But that
yes.
next story, which is
Oh
why
yes.
I love that you wrote a whole new
Yeah.
story for yourself, where
Yeah.
you could have chapterized in a social media post your
Sure.
tenacious pursuit of peace, but you really wanted to lean in fully to all the experiences with the different, very personal stories, very potent
Mhm.
stories that you
Mhm.
share throughout. And I would love for you to just give a little context about why you felt it was so important for you to take what could be personal conversation sherries for your advisory board and your
Mhm.
personal kitchen table circle
Sure.
and gift it to the world.
Yeah. I have had a book on my heart for a long time. I would
Yeah.
say since really truly knocking at the door of my heart since 2018. right? So it's been several years. I've had it kind of in my consciousness for a while,
Yeah.
but really knocking, like taking actionable steps. I hired someone to help me write and pitch to big publishers. I hired a book coach, a content coach, and it just didn't come together, didn't come together. And I couldn't quite figure out what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
And one of my very dear book coaches, actually, her words are on the back of the book. Sam Horn.
Oh.
She told me something in 2021. She said, "Madeline, your life is your lab, and your story isn't done yet. Right? You're
Mm.
still in it. You're still living it. You're still evolving it."
Yeah.
And I took those words really to heart. I didn't take them as a criticism at all. I mean, this is after 3 solid months of working together weekly, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was very clear that this is not the moment. And
Mhm.
what I noticed happen in my own life is that there were certain things that had to complete before these doors could open,
Yeah.
right? So I've had a coaching and consulting firm focused on home improvement professionals and helping them tactically in their businesses.
Mhm.
And as a coaching part, did a lot of deep personal work, but it was always one-on-one, privately. I
Mhm.
very rarely shared that publicly.
Mhm.
And it was only after I finished my business Home Pro Toolbox, which is
Mhm.
still chugging along, doing its thing,
Yeah.
and it actually didn't achieve what I thought it would achieve. It didn't hit this meteoric success the way I thought that it would.
Mhm.
And sometimes our greatest gifts are the ones like the unanswered prayers that
That's
what
right.
is that
That's
song,
right.
right? God's greatest
Mhm.
gifts are unanswered prayers. So, but sometimes not doing what you thought you were going to do allows that door to open. And
Yes.
I remember I'm a really I pray really deeply.
Yeah.
I'm an intense person, right? If
Mhm.
I do it intensely. I don't just like
Yeah.
think around with it. I'm in it.
You're
And
like, I'm
so
not tinkering.
I'm not tinkering. I'm either in or I'm out. I'm not like
Right.
medium kind of
Yeah.
in-ish. And if
Yeah.
I'm in-ish, then I get out because it doesn't feel good to me, right?
Right.
So um, I was praying once and I do this thing called joyful journaling, which
Mm.
is you pour out your gratitudes and then you
Mhm.
let spirit speak as you write.
Yes.
And I really love it. It's a really
Mhm.
beautiful way for me to journal.
Mhm.
And in one of my journaling moments, it was that like, keep doing what you're doing, carry on, but this is the doorway, not the end goal, right?
Mm.
So don't get overly attached to the result. Allow.
Yeah.
And when I finally was in a place that I could allow, that I could let this story out, I
Mhm.
thought I was still thinking I was going to write a business book with a little bit of personal development. That's the
Right.
book I started writing.
Those agendas. Yeah.
I had an
Mhm.
agenda. I had this
Mhm.
vision of who I
Mhm.
wanted myself to be.
Yeah.
And it was in January of 2023
Mhm.
that I had already written 3 chapters. I had the outline. I was working with another book coach. She was amazing. We were getting so much done. I was loving
Mhm.
it. And I was very much tracking like how many words, how far am I? And one weekend I sat down and I wrote one of the chapters. Actually, the
Mhm.
first chapter I read during
Mhm.
my book
Mhm.
launch.
Yeah.
And it's the socks chapter for anyone who gets the book. And
Mhm.
it was so different than everything
Mm.
else I had written. And I sent it to the book coach and I said, "Oh my gosh, this is so different. Like, I think it's a totally different book. And I don't know what to do about it. I like it. I like it a
Yeah.
lot. Actually, I think it's my favorite chapter, but
Mhm.
sounds like a different book." And she replied back with, "No notes. It's great. Keep going. I see why you think that, but it's not a different book. Just keep writing."
Okay.
And so I just wrote and wrote and wrote. And I wrote 2 chapters in a week, which is a little nuts. Like that's a lot of writing to do.
That's a lot of flow.
Yeah, that's a lot of flow in addition to my regular life and job.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
um,
Mhm. And being a parent and all the things.
you
Right.
know, all the things, right? And um, I, when she read those 2 chapters,
Mhm.
she called me and said, "I have good news and bad news. What do you want first?" And of course, the good news. And the good news was I'd found my voice. My voice as an
Mm.
author. And what it was stories.
Yeah.
I love stories. I
Yeah.
love to tell stories. I like to listen to stories. I
Mhm.
love stories. And
Yeah.
that's what I had written, stories.
Mhm.
And really this very specific way that I write, which is I'm going to throw you in the middle and then I'm going to pull you back.
Mhm.
And I let the story do the teaching and
Yeah.
I didn't force it. And I only
Yeah.
did like maybe 10% or less of talking to the reader. And
Okay.
everything else was just telling the story, right?
Mhm.
Telling the story.
Yeah.
And She said, that's the great news. You found your voice. Many authors
Mhm.
don't, right?
Yeah.
This authentic voice.
Hmm.
And that's brilliant. Like, well done. This is you.
Yeah.
She said, the bad news is you do have to rewrite those first three chapters.
Well,
Well,
the
so
good news does set you up
right, right,
for
right,
all the
right.
great. Yeah.
So that was a long answer to the question of why. And for me, the why did I feel compelled to do this is that um, most people tell their stories from the middle.
Yeah.
They tell the highlight reel once they've already passed the threshold of the difficulty.
Come
And
on.
for me, that's been really disempowering
Hmm.
because I've watched people's stories and I've
Hmm.
seen, observed my life and been like, what is my dysfunction? Right?
Yeah.
What's wrong with
Yeah.
me? And I really wanted people to share in those really difficult moments in my
Yeah.
life so that they could see in their own lives those moments of difficulty and know
Hmm.
that that's not the end of the story,
That's right.
right? That's not your defining
Hmm.
moment. That's your like moment of intense potential purification
Hmm.
and can be a glorification moment when you get through it and you triumph over these dark moments.
Yeah.
And I wanted people to know what is possible for them, right? I'm
Yeah.
just a regular girl from the suburbs of Detroit, right?
Hmm.
Blue collar family.
Hmm.
And I was able to do it. And if I can, you can.
Yes. 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 Alignment, right?
Alignment.
Because from Selfish, it was very much not wanting to skip through the hard to
Yes.
say, "Oh, look at how great things are
Right.
now." And it's like,
Yeah, yeah,
no,
yeah.
like, let's set the context with giving you probably more history than you bartered for, like that you thought you were going to get, but
Uh-huh.
to really give you the context so you could see the human. And you can also understand, to your point, because you're regular in the sense that you're not normal, and normal is not necessary, right? Which I
Yes.
stand by completely.
Yes.
But
Absolutely.
you're also regular in the sense that you're not this untouchable human that lives behind a glass house that no one can access. You're like,
Sure.
no, I go to the
Yeah.
supermarket, I move around,
Right.
I'm out here in the dirt with my kid. Like, I'm being, a human. And I feel like the way that you shared, because I'm still waiting for my copy in the order, by the way, in the mail. Just
Oh,
just
okay.
saying.
Okay.
Like, I know it's on the way, but she was sold out, people, at the launch, and then had to have another book launch and was sold out again. So I'm waiting for my physical. But for the short stories that you read, it was showing that you were powerful and audacious and ambitious and amazing, and in parentheses, you're human. And
Yeah.
not everyone can set the tone and the context for that, because they're so in their ego when they're
Mm.
sharing stories about their
Oh,
life. They want to paint the picture that everything was grand, or everything was the worst. And, if I can do it, you could do it too, but in a very minimizing way. And I didn't get that from what you were
yes.
sharing.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So when I started writing this book in the
Hmm.
new way, right, in the new
Yeah,
voice,
yeah, right.
I had this actually throughout. I think even throughout the process, I had this. I think concern is a good word to say. Worry, concern, fear that I was just like self-aggrandizing, like let
Mm-hmm.
me tell you how great I am. Let
Mm-hmm.
me lay out all my successes. I'm so
Mm-hmm.
wonderful. You should be
Mm-hmm.
wonderful like me. And I like, but I hate it when people do
Right.
that. Like there are
Right.
certain people out in the, business and personal development space who are just like, I'm the best. Look at my jet. Look at my car. Look at my cool stuff. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, right?
Right.
Hubris much. And
Right.
it has been a really important thing for me. And you'll hear it in just in my book, like that
Mhm.
journey of what is humility and
Yeah.
learning how to be humble and to be
Yeah.
in your gift
Yeah.
without being um, without being overly puffing yourself up. So I had a really deep desire to serve. And I
Mhm.
actually wrote a prayer that I would pray every day or every time I sat down to write.
Okay.
And I grappled with should I share it or should I not share it in the book?
Mhm.
Because I mean, it's like I'm Christian and it's a
Yeah.
very like full on Christian prayer, right? We're
Yeah.
gonna pray in the way that I pray,
Mhm.
and it's also very personal. Like the way that
Yeah.
I speak to the Lord is like as a beloved, and it's very
Yeah.
personal, and it's like a love letter almost.
Mhm.
And that felt like, oh, that's a lot to share. And it's actually the very last couple pages of the book I shared
Mm.
there because it's so important. And there's one little moment that resonated in this prayer. It says, "Let me not stand in the way, blocking you, but in your loving mercy, guide me to be an entryway, a portal to you and you alone."
Mhm.
And for me, whether
Yes.
you're a religious person or not, the divine is that higher part of us, right?
Yeah.
Like no matter what your faith tradition, like I want people to be inspired to move more into who they are, into all of
Absolutely.
who they are. And I wanted my book and my stories and even my life, my public part of my life, the part that
Yeah.
people will observe, to be that invitation, to be that entryway point,
Mhm.
not to be the aspirational destination.
Yeah. No, I receive that. One of the things that comes up, and I'm sure you get that too, as a leadership, personal development, and business expert, and all the ways that those very valid hats weave together for the work that you do in the world and your public life, to
Mm-hmm.
use your terminology. I'm sure you come across this when people will say, how do you do what you do? And they don't mean it from like where you got your certifications, where
Technically.
you went to school, right? Right? Like it's
Yes.
more of like, how are you being all that you are that feels so genuine, that feels so integrated and showing up so powerfully? And when people ask some version of that for me, I'm like, listen, God first. That's not a judgment
Mhm.
of where you sit on the other side of that in your
Yeah.
spiritual journey, or
Right.
if you are denouncing that as a part of your life because you're
Right.
not feeling connected. And I always say, like, you don't want me to give you the textbook answer. You want the truth.
Right.
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 And the
Right.
truth is the inner brilliance of me is directly connected to the vine of God that I call
Yes.
God. And I
Yeah.
won't minimize that because it's not PC to
Right.
say, just
Right.
like you on the other side of this conversation that's listening to us right now might say, well, I'm not Christian or Catholic or Muslim or any particular
Yeah.
organized
That's true.
religion,
Yep.
but I
Yep.
do have faith in the higher mind of the
Yeah.
collective and
Right.
higher consciousness. And what I'm hearing you say is, in order for you to move through and get to the other side of you, just connect deeper.
Connect
And
more
if
deeply.
that deeper is deeper within yourself and you haven't identified it as a specific name, fine, just
Right.
connect deeper.
Yeah.
Because the reality is, on our side, for people who are faith believing, is the deeper of the connecting inside of you is the God in you that you're
Right.
connecting to,
Right.
that has
Right.
stitched you together. So,
Right. Right. And the way that I hear it, the way that I think about it for myself is that, when you think about all the different sort of world religions, right?
hmm
Big
hmm
world religions,
hmm
they all believe in a God who speaks in a whisper,
yeah,
right? A God who speaks in quiet spaces,
yeah,
or a God who speaks in a moment of, like in the thunder, right? Like
hmm
in these
hmm
big nature
hmm
driven, loud
yeah,
moments, in the wind, in the thunder, but also
hmm
in the quiet, like in the quiet whispering. How many
hmm
times does a prophet in any faith religion go to the mountains to pray or remove themselves from the world in order to have that interpersonal relation with
yes,
God,
honey.
right?
That's what
Like
I call being intentionally selfish. Make
yes,
space.
that's exactly it. So for
hmm
me, it's that's the inner quiet. And if
Yes.
you are so busy doing and
hmm
you don't ever get busy being,
Yeah.
you miss the inner whispering. And that's where those little nudges happen, right?
Yeah.
That's where those little inspirational, like, oh, what if I could share that? What if it wasn't inappropriate for me to share the hardest, most devastating moment of my life?
Yeah.
What if that actually is exactly the doorway, right?
Yeah.
What if that is exactly the words that someone's going to read who's had a similar experience or a worse experience, or maybe
Mhm.
a similar experience in a wildly different way, like who's had a similar devastating experience happen in their
Mhm.
life, and they suddenly feel permission to be seen,
Yes.
right? Like sometimes those things that are not PC to share,
Mhm.
those things that you wouldn't commonly chat about at dinner table, they do still need space. They need
Yeah.
space within you so you
Yes.
can resolve them, but they need space in the world to be because things are less scary when you bring them into the light,
Mm-hmm.
right? Things are always scarier in the dark and in the
Yes.
hidden and in the unknown. And if I'm willing to put mine into the light, then maybe someone else will be inspired to bring theirs into the light with a therapist or with
Yeah.
a trusted advisor. It doesn't have to be my way, right? And that's part of a core belief for me, is that my way is my very, very Madeleine way, right? Which
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
gentle and strong and bold and deeply human and aligned, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I am not going to shy away from the fact that I'm bold, bright, and ambitious. I'm not going to shy away from the fact that one day I'm going to have $100 million business. Like,
Come on.
this is just put it out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
capable. I can. When people are like, "What's your why?" Because I can. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's fun and I can. I get to, right?
Yes.
So I think that there's each person. If you're a more calm, quiet,
Mm-hmm.
want to be in the background person,
Mm-hmm.
go be that. Amen.
Yes.
Yay. I love
Yes.
it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? My path is a path. It's
Mm-hmm.
my path. It's
Yeah.
not the path.
Yeah. That's really important, especially for the top line of just your goal of inspiring people,
Yes.
giving them hope, giving them victory, which again,
Yes.
I have to use the
Yes.
A word. There's alignment, right? Like it's like the word somewhere that is going to be in the
Or
title of
that
this
should be
show
the
because
title. I
right,
love
it
it.
has to
Living
be.
alignment. That's it.
Right? But in the pursuit of that and the fact that you are setting it up for people of all different backgrounds, of all different stories, of all different chapters of their lives to see that there's opportunity for expansion
Mm.
and not necessarily always connected to monetary expansion, although we're not
Yeah.
excluding that because we love
Yeah.
money. We want money. It's
Yeah. We
good. It's
love it.
helpful.
Bring it. Bring it. Bring it.
Right. All the things. And in parentheses, there's so much more.
Yeah.
And I feel when, whether it's perusing your website, reading the book, hearing your stories, listening to you on other interviews and podcasts and shows and all the things, you're very consistent in your
Mm.
growth across the multiple organizations that you've grown, that you've birthed out, across a lot of the givings of an expert that you give, right? There's the LinkedIn Madeleine, right? Like there's that
Yes.
more formal version of you, and there's also the playful, and it's all consistent, and the through line is
Mm.
there. And I think the modeling of that is the most important because people can hear you say, "Oh, you don't have to be in your ego. Oh, you can, create these amazing, impactful organizations. You can do all
Yeah.
this and still be playful." But then
Mhm.
they don't see that
Right.
side. And I feel
Right.
like you can see that in your headshots. Like you can
My little
see,
sassiness.
yes, like you literally are embodying it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm standing in, we need more of that.
Oh,
We
I love
need more
that.
of that. And
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
you're reflecting it in your beingness and your
Mm.
actions and your showing up is way more powerful than even someone just listening to this episode, because they can go to wherever you are in the world, which of course you'll tell people where to find you
Sure.
when we're
Yeah.
done. And they're like, oh, this is legit. Like this isn't just a pretend.
Right.
And so
Right.
many people are struggling with their personal identity right now as they're
Mm.
navigating changes, leaving, which you are perfect expert to speak to this, leaving one type of organization to create another, but feeling worried about that because you've been identified as this woman
Oh,
who's a
yes.
master at this thing. What do you
Yes.
mean you're not going to be author? What do you mean that you're now doing leadership? What do you mean that, right? Like, but
Yes.
all of them are
Yes.
layers of you.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know what I mean?
So, oh my gosh, so much to say about so many of that, so much of that. Um, so the first thing I want to say, Nikita, is that this is not easy,
Yeah.
right? Don't let my lightheartedness, my like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, let's laugh about it. Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to tell you about the hardest part of my life. That was great. No, it sucked hard, like
Yeah.
so hard,
Yeah.
crying under my desk, snot dripping down my face. Like, that's real, right?
Yeah.
Really real.
Yeah.
It is not easy to live aligned the way I live. It is
Mm-hmm.
challenging, right?
Mm-hmm.
Flipping, challenging is flip. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
used to use stronger language, but I'm trying to be PC up in here, right? Like, it is not easy, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of deciding and there is a lot of choosing
Yeah.
what is the higher good not
Mhm.
what is the easiest thing or what is the, and there's so much of me, as a parent, right? I have a child who has autism.
Mhm.
He's a level 1, so that means he's very high functioning and
Mhm.
still it can be so challenging. And sometimes I'm going to admit I take the easy way out. Sometimes I'm like, dude, here's your phone, enjoy the shows, ciao. Right? Like
Right. That's
when you're
real.
right, like I can't take it for one more second if I had to talk about this game that you're obsessed with today, what, for one hot more second, like this is the last comment you get to make about that. Okay. So and there are days when I lose my shit completely, right?
Yeah.
i
Yeah.
i am human, I am normal, I am
Yes.
normal, and like I live a daily life, I have normal things, like I stress out over, does this necklace match this dress, like I like normal stuff like that. We all
Mhm.
have these things. But
Mhm.
one of the things that I have decided, and it took me years of practice and effort to do, is not to wear a mask, not to wear
Yes.
a facade, is to be me, right? Because
Yes.
wearing a facade is tiring.
Mm.
And then you have to put it on and take it off and put it on and take it off. But for me, what you get is what you get. Like I'm going to
Yes.
behave the same way
Mhm.
in a meeting with my employees as I do in a meeting with a client, as I do in a meeting with a friend, right? Like
Yes.
this, I am consistently myself because
Mhm.
I have learned who I am.
Yes.
I've softened the sharp edges that drive people away because there are
Mhm.
more sharp edges.
Mhm.
And I have
Mhm.
built bridges over the difficult parts. And I acknowledge what I'm bad at and what I
Yeah.
suck at and what I'm, and there are neurotic parts of me that I'm like, oh my gosh, like it is what it is, right? Like, so, but that's, it's all of me, and it's not easy, right?
Yeah.
Um, it's not something that has happened by chance,
Yeah.
and it's not something that has happened quickly, right? It's taken me years to
Yeah.
live in this deeply aligned way, where before I would have something happening in my life, or I'd be doing something, it would take me weeks or months to figure out, like, why am I so perturbed about this? Now
Mm.
I'm perturbed because I'm out of alignment. I feel it. I take a pause. I figure it out. I have
Mhm.
multiple conversations with multiple advisors and people and friends and
Yes.
family, figure it out. And the 2 days later, a day later, a couple hours later, depends on the thing, I'm clear on what it is and I'm clear on the path, right?
Yeah.
That's taken years of effort, right?
Mhm.
So it's that this sense of alignment, it's something I tenaciously pursue, right?
Mhm.
And for
Yeah.
me, the heart of alignment is peacefulness,
Yes.
right? Deep inner peace, no matter the waves happening in and
Yeah.
around my life, because we all have waves.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't, you don't get to be in the ship without waves,
Yeah.
right? But you
Y
can have calm underneath the
Mhm.
waves.
Yeah.
And that has been my pursuit. And there's no way to get there without alignment, at least not for me.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I love that. I'm like a little bit of a rain woman in the way that I hear things and the
Yeah.
colors and mnemonics and all the things that come in. And as you were painting your truth out there and making it very tangible for people to see, there were some strong nuggets that kind of rose out of what you said. Start. You got to begin somewhere
In.
and know that it is not going to be easy, but it'll be worth it at the
So worth
end of
it.
it. And you also kind of highlighted the fact that when it comes to decision making, there's easy choices and then there's choices that are the best for
Mm,
whatever the outcome is that you're doing, which you referenced the higher good.
yes.
Knowing that as someone listening to the show who's struggling with a decision, whatever the decision is, what job should I take? What should I accept this client or not? Should I partner with this partner for my business? Should I pitch this business? Like whatever it is that people are listening to right now and they're struggling with from relationally to financially, you can use what Madeline just suggested, which is know that you have to start, right? You have to start. You have to do the inner work. There's no way around it. And it can be juicy and wonderful and fulfilling because I heard you lean into that too,
Yeah.
not just
Yeah,
the
totally.
yucky
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
pieces.
No, no, it's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all like
Mhm.
a beautiful, brutal kind of thing.
Beautiful
Like,
bird. It is
right?
beautiful.
Like beautiful, brutal. And when you get to that sticky space, which is going to come up many, many times, I heard you say, be aware that there's going to be something that you could easily do that may not be the highest good for you. And just kind of anchor into that as you're listening to this thinking, like, how do I make this decision to join or not join? How do I make this decision to separate myself from maybe a toxic person, place, or
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah.
Easier thing to do, best for higher good. So I think that that was like some really juicy nuggets
Yeah.
in what you shared as you painted kind of the tangible space of I'm a human and this is what my humanity journey has looked like for me
Right. Right.
in a highlight reel. So I just wanted
Yeah.
to point that
Thank
out.
you. And I also feel like there's a, um, so often we want to judge ourselves on what our bank accounts look like, on our
Mm,
financial statements.
mhm,
And I will boldly assert that my financial statements have been the slowest measure, right?
mhm.
They're the lagging
Definitely.
measure by a
Mhm,
long flipping shot, right?
mhm,
There are
mhm,
other parts of me that were way ahead of
mhm.
my finances, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's a beautiful thing that they're now getting in a very beautiful place of congruence. Yay, yay,
Mhm.
yay.
Yes.
But that's been decades in the
Mhm.
work, right?
Yeah,
And lots
yeah.
of squirrel
Mhm.
moments. And that money is what I consider the cheapest measure of wealth,
Yeah.
right? Because money is a renewable resource. You can always get
Mhm.
more of it. But
Yeah.
relationships and
Mhm.
self-satisfaction and alignment and
Yes.
fulfilling work and
Mhm.
impact. There's so
Yeah.
many ways. One of my mentors told me once, Madeline, you are wealthy in so many ways.
Yeah.
And it was such a gift to me
Mhm.
to disassociate the singularity of wealth being money. And
Mm.
there is financial wealth
Yeah.
too, and that's important. And I said, bring it. Like we all, yes,
Yes.
more of it,
Yes.
please. Ready for it,
Yes.
bring it. And I say it aloud every time because the universe needs to hear me say, I love money and I want
Mhm.
more of it, right? And I
Yes.
can have more of it, and I will have more of it, and I am having
Yes.
more of it, right? I
That's
say
right.
it because the
That's
universe
right.
needs to hear it, right? So that
Yes.
aligned action, right? The universe
Mhm.
hears what you say and sees what you do, right?
Mhm.
So but money is only a measure of
Yes.
wealth. And there's
Mhm.
so many ways to enjoy those riches. I went
Mhm.
on a rant a little bit just now about how hard that is, but
Mhm.
it's also rich,
Yeah.
right? Rich. Think about mining. Mining is loud and dirty and
Mhm.
smelly and way
Mhm.
deep down in the earth. But what do you
Yes.
get out of it, right? The
Yes.
most precious things are hidden under the crust.
If you keep going.
If you keep going, right? You can't be like,
Mhm.
oh, this is so tiring.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right? You do
Yeah.
have to go through. And here's one thing that I want to just for the people listening, because this was in my heart, is
Yeah.
that when you're in that moment where you truly feel like you're ready to give up, right?
Mhm.
When you're really in a dark moment,
Yeah.
instead of thinking like, oh my gosh, what am I doing wrong? Remember that that's actually a symptom of doing it exactly right.
Mm. Yes.
So when
Yes.
when
Yes.
you're in the
Yes.
struggle, when you're in the hard,
Mhm.
if you expect it to be not a walk in the park,
Mhm.
you can be like, oh, look at me, I'm killing it.
Yeah. That's that from a personal trainer kind of perspective, that's that when you feel that resistance,
Yeah,
your freedom is on the other side of that. That's a
that's right.
good burn.
Push.
That's a good thing. Yes.
Push.
Yes.
It's worth it, right? When I was having my
Yes.
son, I got tired.
Mhm.
I'd been in labor
Mhm.
for so long, and he's the way he is now. Like he's a cozy person. He does not want to leave his normal. He is happy there. And he was like, I'm not coming out of this womb because I'm happy here. And
Mhm.
what's on the other side? Who knows? I'm not sure. And I was like, I'm done. I'm not doing
Mhm.
it anymore. And the doctor's like, he's crowning. Like you have
Right.
to push. I'm like, I'm not gonna. I'm tired. I'm done. And I was just exhausted. I just couldn't. I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm just done. The baby's
Yeah.
not coming out anyways. I'm just done. And I just like gave up. And the doctor's like, you have to push. I'm like, no, I don't. I just resist.
So many women relate to this moment
I
right
know.
now.
I'm done. Not to. I'm done. And so
Mhm.
they put a mirror so I
Mhm.
could see the baby,
Yeah.
see his little teeny tiny head.
Mhm.
I was like, no, I don't want to see it. That's going to be gross. And then when I saw it, I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
my baby. And
Mhm.
I was able to have the courage
Yeah.
to just push through my exhaustion, push through the moment, just really bring that baby into the world.
Yeah.
And I think of that so often as so many of us, we're just tired. We're like, I'm
Yeah.
done. I'm
Yeah.
done. It's been too much. I'm done. And we're
Yeah.
like, you're so close though. And they're like, but I don't feel like I'm close. I feel like it's going to take me 800 more years. And I'm just, how do I know I'm close? And having those people around you who are wise enough to show you the mirror
Mhm.
and be
Yes.
like, it's actually right here. It's just
Yeah.
one tiny little bit more.
Yeah.
And you're going to have this beautiful thing, person, what that you've been creating, it's going to be
Yes.
here in the world just one
Mhm.
little bit more. And that's a big piece for me, is making sure that you have those wise people who know to go get the mirror for you, or
Yeah.
to be the mirror for you, so that you have the
Yes.
courage to make it through those difficult moments.
Oh, I love that. They activated what was already in you. You just needed a
You
little
needed. I
activation.
had nothing left. I needed someone to find the last little drip of willingness left,
Yes.
because I was out. I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I got nothing left. It's not
Yes.
happening today. We'll just wait.
And I mean, I love the story of this, the birthing process in and of itself. God knows I can relate to it, but on so many levels, down to like, I'm not doing it, like
Not doing
all
it.
of it.
Not doing
But
it.
I know that there are people who are listening to this feeling like that in so many different areas of their life.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
there's nothing else for me to give. And when you take that moment that you had to be activated to see your son about to enter into the world, you also unconsciously, like, you weren't aware of it, but you were taking a breath. It was a little bit of
A rest.
silent rest that was there.
Yeah.
And we all need more of those moments, which might be few seconds. It might be 2 minutes of blowing bubbles when you're at work and you're like, I'm about to pop off on my coworker, right? Like, or this vendor has no idea who they're dealing with, right? Like,
About to be
whatever it
unleashed
is,
upon them.
you know what I mean? Like, just take a breath.
Yeah.
And if you need to get your own mirror, which sometimes you have to when you just don't have the resources, if you're listening
Yes.
to this and you're like, I don't have my advisors on speed dial, I don't have coaches or mentors or whatever.
Yeah.
Of course, we want you to move towards that. But
Yeah.
in the interim right now, find your version of mirror to just give you a little bit more of that drip that Madeleine's talking about, just a
Mm.
little bit more, so you can get back in step with your own tenacious pursuit of peace.
Yum. Yes. My one of my little personal favorite mirror moments is when I
Mhm.
really need to be like, okay, Madeline, get it together. I say this really inspiring thing to myself.
Mhm.
I say, get your shit together. That's my like, get it together. Come on. And I say it often, like, all right, Madeline,
Yeah.
get your shit together. Come on. And it's
Yeah.
not meant, that's really my like little inner rallying cry.
You're
Like, you can do
coaching
this.
yourself.
You
Yeah.
can do this. Come on.
Mhm.
And I just stand with my hands on my like on my hip bones in a Superman pose,
Yeah.
feet apart,
Mhm.
posture full, stand up.
Mhm.
And I count to like as long as it takes
Mhm.
for me to feel it. And I'm
Yeah.
like Superwoman. I put my cape back on. I'm like,
Mhm.
all right, I got this. And
Yeah.
that's my own inner when I have like 4 minutes between calls and I'm
Right.
feeling drained and
Yeah.
feel like I got nothing else. I'm like, all right, get your shit
Mhm.
together. Come on,
Right.
you can do
Right.
this.
I
And
got this.
yeah, and
Mhm.
that little inner mirror moment, that's one of those little practical things I
Yes.
actually do.
No, I love it. I have similar ones too. I
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, we still have to do a part two on so many levels because your
Ooh.
alignment. That's my 25th time saying it today, but it matters. Tell
Hmm.
everyone how they can connect with you to get more of your thread, your through line, your consistency of how you show up in the world.
Oh, thank you for that. You can go to my website, which is madeleinemacrae.com. You can find me on all the socials, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. You know, Nikita was saying that LinkedIn is more of my polished presence. That's Madeline, CEO of Legacy Leadership Institute. You will see me on that way on LinkedIn. And you can find me there. You can also check out on Amazon my books, Tenacious Pursuit of Peace, and my little sweet book if you have littles, or even if you just like a little sweet book. It's Unusual Penguin. It's a sweet read.
Mhm.
It's a little bit of a cheer jerker, so have Kleenexes.
I love disclaimers, you know that. That was awesome. Thank you. And I will say, for everyone who's not watching but listening to this, make sure you go to the YouTube page for the Lazy Overachiever to see her just, if you've already listened, forward through to this last few minutes of the episode when she was like, that's Madeleine CEO. like, yes, that is exactly who I am. I loved it. It was so
Thank you.
powerful.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're awesome. Thank you so much for carving out time today. I know you have a very full schedule and you're just a light that I'm very grateful that our listeners got an opportunity to share in. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. My
You're
pleasure.
welcome. Lazy overachievers. I mean, how does it get better than this? this. This is amazing. Madeleine is amazing. You are amazing. Thank you for showing up. But most importantly, remember to embrace a little bit more of your lazy so you can work less and trust your inner brilliance more. I will see you on the other side.